Welcome to this deep dive. We're digging into some pretty serious analysis today. It's about a hypothetical U.S. military conflict with Venezuela, maybe late 2025.
hmm
So our mission here is to cut through the noise, find the real objectives behind the military buildup, look at the scenarios they've modeled, and try to understand this, well, frankly, contradictory impact on oil prices and big corporate assets. Let's jump in.
Okay, so the first thing you notice in the sources, the public reason given this war on narco-terrorists, it's widely seen as a pretext.
A pretext. Okay, so what are the real strategic goals then, according to the analysis?
Seems to be threefold. One, straightforward regime change, getting rid of Maduro.
Right.
Two, geopolitical dominance, basically pushing back against Russia, China, Iran's influence in the region. And three, maybe the most crucial, energy security, specifically locking down that heavy sour crude oil.
Ah, the stuff U.S. Gulf Coast refineries really need. Right. They're configured for it.
Exactly. They need that specific feedstock. Now, here's the fascinating part, the core finding. The administration seems to be betting everything on the least likely scenario.
Wait, the least likely.
Yeah. Scenario one, a quick, decisive strike. Regime collapses almost instantly. High reward, sure, but low probability according to the intel.
Wow. That sounds like a huge gamble if the intel says it probably won't happen that way.
It is a massive gamble because the sources are clear. The most probable outcome is scenario two, the base case, a protracted air campaign. And Venezuela's whole defense strategy, they call it integral defense, it's built precisely to survive that.
Survive how? What does that actually look like?
It means asymmetric resistance. They activate militias, these armed civilian groups called colectivos, and they basically wage a people's war. They integrate civilian infrastructure, oil facilities even, into their defense. Makes it messy, target rich, but, civilian heavy.
Okay, let's just pause on that. If scenario two kicks off, the fallout looks grim in these analyses. The U.S. gets isolated diplomatically, right? Colombia, other partners, they back off intelligence sharing.
Instantly. The diplomatic clock runs out fast.
But the human cost.
Yeah.
The sources mentioned 1.7 to 3 million new refugees.
Yes, so.
That's an enormous humanitarian crisis, wiping out any U.S. diplomatic leverage.
Absolutely. A catastrophe on top of the existing crisis.
And if the air campaign doesn't work, if it bogs down,
then things could escalate dramatically.
Right.
That leads us to the worst case scenario, scenario three,
which involves
a U.S. ground invasion, a potential quagmire, and that could trigger a major international incident.
How so?
The analysis suggests Russia might respond by deploying advanced Oreshnik intermediate-range missiles, IRBMs, to Venezuela.
Missiles in Venezuela. It sounds chillingly familiar, like a Cuban Missile Crisis for the 21st century.
Precisely. The stakes become incredibly high globally. Now, let's connect this back to the oil markets, because the impact there is completely dependent on which scenario plays out. It's a totally binary outcome.
Binary? How?
Okay, so if the U.S. somehow pulls off scenario one, the quick win, you get this bearish paradox.
Bearish, meaning prices go down.
Way down, potentially. Think about it. A new pro-U.S. government brings maybe 4 or 5 million barrels per day of Venezuelan oil back online relatively quickly.
Into a market that might already be in surplus?
Exactly. It could flood the market. Brent crude might crash below $60 a barrel medium term.
Okay, that's the win scenario. What about the more likely scenarios 2 or 3, the protracted fight or the escalation?
That's the bullish reality. The market faces a sustained price hike, maybe 10, even 20%.
Why? Just because Venezuelan oil is offline?
That's a big part of it. You immediately lose about 1.1 million barrels per day of that heavy crude. Plus, sabotage would likely damage infrastructure, hindering future production.
And if it escalates to scenario 3 with Russia involved?
Then you're talking about geopolitical risk premiums. Fear of a direct U.S.-Russia confrontation. Prices could soar. Some analysts suggest $110, maybe even $130 a barrel.
Wow. So the outcome for oil is completely flipped depending on success or failure.
Totally flipped.
And this binary situation is reflected in the corporate world too, right? Like, look at Chevron.
Perfect example. Scenario one, the quick win. Chevron is potentially the biggest winner. They'd likely be the main partner helping rebuild the oil sector. Huge upside.
But scenario 2 or 3?
Total loss, most likely. The Maduro government, or whatever remains, would almost certainly nationalize their assets immediately in retaliation. Gone.
And then there's CITGO, the refining asset in the U.S., that auction currently being supervised by the Delaware court.
That's the non-military leverage the U.S. has. If the U.S. wins, scenario one, Treasury likely halts the auction. Keep the crown jewel asset for the new friendly government.
Makes sense. But if the U.S. loses,
Hmm.
scenarios 2 or 3.
Then Treasury probably approves the sale, lets it go through. It's a way to punish the Maduro regime, stripping that valuable asset away permanently.
So wrapping this up, a strategic assessment points heavily towards which scenario?
The base case scenario. Number 2, the protracted air campaign. That's seen as overwhelmingly the most probable outcome.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you listening? It seems this potential U.S. military action, which is maybe intended to secure energy and push back rivals,
Yeah.
it actually risks achieving the exact opposite. It could trigger oil price spikes, diplomatic isolation, the very things it aimed to prevent.
And here's a final thought. If this operation fails, if it ends up in scenario 2 or 3, the analysis suggests the real long-term winners could be Russian, Chinese, and Iranian firms.
How so?
They could solidify their control over Venezuela's oil reserves, the world's largest proven reserves. That's not just a regional issue, that's a major strategic defeat for the U.S. with global implications. Something to think about.